She's like, it's fine, just do it.
Yeah.
She's like, just send
Can anybody hear me?
Okay.
Is that a yes? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. I didn't say wishful thinking, just. Okay, I'm gonna, without comment, I'm going to mute.
What is he doing there? 60 some years have been a wise ass, I'm not changing.
Janet said she doesn't have the link.
Oh,
I sent it to her.
it's JL.
Yeah, jlhoward123@gmail.com. Tell her if she goes onto the district website, tell her to log in there and I can promote her to.
Go to the district website and log in, and then he will promote you as needed.
Been on the board 2 months and she gets a promotion?
I know.
What the hell?
Staff car. It's a staff
Company
car.
car too.
Company card. and everything.
Brian should be here. Gracie gave me the job. Well, I took my wife for it. My doctor's office.
Everybody was in their seats and.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Mellow yellow.
Yeah, maybe tonight here.
concerned.
So I said, what about Brian?
I was okay.
Like everybody's cars outside. Usually you pull up, 2 people walking in.
Yeah.
I got back in time.
Nobody. Then I
We're
walked
rare
in.
ready to go.
I was like, my clock not get sent ahead or something? And then you were like rushing. I hate this.
I had to keep texting Tara for the time though, because even though I have it written down, I have it in my calendar, I'm still like,
I think it's 7 or
I'm like,
6:30.
what the heck? She said, I knew like this, I was in Alabama last week with my parents, and I was posting assignments for my kids. There's an hour time difference.
She's
So
so.
the stuff she goes, "Are you posting?" I'm like, ah,
Wait a minute, there's
yes, they're an hour behind us.
really
Yes.
That's funny.
golf course?
Yeah, he's in Orange Beach. Yeah, right, just
It
like
looks like you had a nice time down there.
an hour, huh?
Looks like you had a nice
Oh,
time.
my-
She says that, but I was lucky.
Good.
I mean.
But yeah, so my sub texts me, I'm like, oh my
I was
God.
going
I'm
through high
like,
school.
I don't even think about it. Google Classroom, like, would you think,
I
I would
wouldn't
think it
think
would have
that either.
automatically adjusted.
Translate,
I
yeah.
don't think so because of your location.
You would think,
First
but,
day
you
of
know.
college.
Did you just have somebody come to somebody come and present about females?
Yes, Johnson, Rachel Johnson, or Gabby Johnson.
She had graduated, she's the Johnson.
That's Jan's sister.
Okay, that's what I
Oh, yeah,
thought.
speak
Okay.
Jan's or yeah.
What does she do now?
Mark,
I think
Now
she
we can go.
graduated, she swam in college. Swam or volleyball, one
I
of them.
saw a picture
Great job.
of something
How you
she
doing?
presented. I'm like, yeah, that kind of ties in. Got a little what we're talking about. but I like the female.
Yes, yes.
Is your
She's-
son
Yeah.
actually
I don't know, I was on a field trip today, and then I told Cindy, we took our juniors to Hershey,
That's like the umbrella.
just like candy, made
There's
her
no
food,
purpose in that.
and then we went to Turkey Hill and made ice cream.
No. Hey, good evening to everyone. Let's get started. Mrs. Mangle, you want to take roll?
Eagle, here. Hoffmeister?
Here.
Howard? Howard?
I don't see who you had on.
Bueller? Bueller?
Hyman?
Here.
Lucia?
I'm here, I guess.
Mangle? Here. Nelson?
Here.
Vasquez?
Here.
Voight?
Here.
She said no.
Okay,
She
yeah.
can't get in.
A little, you want to take charge of that mic? The one that keeps butting in? Okay, let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a reminder, mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And Dr. Macharola, I think you are in charge.
Thank you, Mr. Heineman. Before we get into the educational presentations, I just very briefly would like to ask everybody in attendance and those that are listening, if we could take a moment of silence and a moment of prayer for the men, women, and children in the Ukraine. We have formidable adversaries on our planet that would love to crush democracy and crush the souls of humanity. And there hasn't been anything more heart-wrenching to see the destruction and the loss of life from a very, very sad invasion, and to recognize the fact that we live in the greatest country in the world, and we have an incredible obligation to teach our children the values of citizenship, Americanism, and what values our country stand for. But for a moment, if we may just have a moment of silence and a prayer to the Almighty for the men, women, and children, the forces that are fighting, the Ukraine army, those in NATO that would support, that we can crush this heinous aggression. So a moment of silence, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for that. Mr. Patterson, physical plan update 3.01. Mr. Patterson?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Macharola. Good evening, members of the board. You should have received a bullet pointed outline if you want to follow along. With the calendar changing to March, spring sports have begun at MSD. This means the outside grounds crews are busy preparing playing fields for our student athletes throughout the campus. In addition to these duties, the outside crews continue to trim shrubs and trees, getting ready for the weather change happening these next few weeks. Lawn mowing and mulching are just around the corner. Inside maintenance techs finish changing HVAC filters throughout the campus. Inside custodians continue to be heavily involved in the activities taking place in all of our buildings throughout the evenings and weekends. In addition to these responsibilities, the custodians are also cleaning, disinfecting, and sanitizing all of our facilities following guidelines that we established last March when students first returned to our buildings. We will continue to monitor the health and safety recommendations and guidelines being set forth from our governor, along with federal and state health agencies and PDE from Muhlenberg School District. In November, the board approved a short-term solution for the admin working office space to accommodate the hiring of a director of HR and director of pupil services. The bidding process is complete. The lowest responsible bids for the general contractor and mechanical contractor portions of the project are being evaluated. Work is set to begin towards the end of April, beginning of May. Significant completion is due by July 15. In 2018, Muhlenberg School District had an opportunity to collaborate with Muhlenberg Township on a project to replace the school warning devices on Kutztown Road. A grant to cover the cost was written and submitted. That grant was approved. The state awarded the funds to Muhlenberg Township, and this project is now going out to bid. As part of the project, a temporary construction access easement for work that needs to be done at the corner of Sharp Avenue and Kutztown Road has to be approved by the board. Our solicitor has reviewed those documents that are under your consideration this evening. In 2019, Muhlenberg School District entered into an electrical demand response program with Direct Energy. The district received funds from the PJM utility grid over these last 3 years. Our current contract expires on May 31st, 2022. I am recommending Muhlenberg School District remain in the demand response program by entering into a new contractual agreement with NRG. Muhlenberg School District stands to receive a little over $15,000 for the 2022-2023 school year if we participate in the program. Also before the board tonight is 2 3-year maintenance service agreements. One agreement is with Keystone Construction for the cleaning, inspection, and GMAX testing of our turf fields. These services are required annually, and this is an opportunity to lock in firm pricing for the next 3 years. The other service agreement involves our Mitel VoIP phone system. Our current agreement with Frontier will end this year. Frontier is no longer contracting service moving forward. Forerunner Technologies has taken over for Frontier, and again, this is an opportunity for Muhlenberg School District to lock in firm pricing for this necessary service for the next 3 years. Are there any questions about any of the agreements or any other general questions?
Mr. Patterson, what are these safety signals? Are they the ones that light up and say school zone and please slow down, or?
Yes, the 15-mile-per-hour zone signs that you see flashing on Bellevue, those are the same type of signs that are now going to be on Kutztown Road when the project is complete.
Are they like automatic, like?
Yes, yep, they're all pre-programmed and taken care of by the township.
Thank you.
You might remember when we, on Bellevue, you were right up on top of the district before you hit those lights, and they were
Yeah.
old. They were, we needed to move it down. We're doing the same thing. We're just making it up to date, very visible, trying to enhance safety. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Any other questions from Mr. Patterson? Okay, 3.02, we have a first reading of policy. This is policy 609. This has been revised to reflect the provisions of Act 10 of 2016, which amended the Investment of Public Corporation and Authority Funds Act to permit public corporations and municipal authorities to invest and reinvest in several products not previously authorized by law. Act 10 defines such public corporations to include school entities. Act 10 expands the types of permissible investments beyond investments currently allowable under the current code to include obligations, participations, or other instruments of any federal agency, instrumental or United States government-sponsored enterprise if the debt obligations are rated at least A, or its equivalent by at least 2 nationally recognized statistical ratings organizations. Commercial paper issued by corporations or other business entities organized in accordance with federal or state law, with the maturity not to exceed 270 days if the issuing corporation or business entity is rated in the top short-term category by at least 2 nationally recognized statistical ratings organizations. And then lastly, bills of exchange, times drafts drawn on and accepted by a commercial bank, otherwise known as bankers' acceptances. If the bankers' acceptances do not exceed 100 days maturity, and the accepting bank is rated in the top short-term category by at least 2 nationally recognized statistical ratings and organizations. So this is a revision and to include the new language of the law. This will be the first reading of policy. At this time, I'm going to ask in section 3.03, I'm going to ask our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Futrick, to give the board an update and our community update on the Muhlenberg School District's spring style program, which is reminiscent to the summer style, where we had over 2,000 students, academics, but that wasn't the main thing. It was building connections, relationships, getting kids back into school. We had incredible responses for the kids in terms of activities. It was just a phenomenal program. And of course, we had an article from CNN, and we also had a really nice video that was done. And we are continuing on with that with spring style. and also with remediation and enrichment. And a couple of things I'm going to ask Dr. Futry just to talk on. A recent article in the AP story. Again, we're worried about our students with depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies. There's very fast-growing concerns. 50% of our kids experience depression for 2 or more consecutive weeks. 15% of our children attempted suicide. 20% of our students experience a family member losing their job. 20% of our kids expressed serious depression and concerns because they had a death in the family during the pandemic. And 25% of our kids worried about where their next meal was going to come from. It's an incredible amount of anxiety, social, emotional, and mental health concerns that we have with our kids. And it's going to be quite some time to work our way out of this. And I know that our faculty and staff are doing an incredible job. And I'd like for Dr. Futry to take this up a step and give a nice presentation about some of the things that are happening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Matrola. Good evening, members of the board, and good evening, members of the Muhlenberg community. Just like Dr. Matrola said, we are really dealing with the challenge of the impact that the pandemic had on our students. It's clearly reflected in the PACE survey information and results that Dr. Matrola just shared with everybody. But 3 things really stood out: depression, anxiety, and the suicidal tendencies. Are concerns, not just only for the Muhlenberg School District, but nationally for children coming out of the pandemic. To provide everyone here with a little perspective with regards to enrollment, we just did a recent study of what we looked like before the pandemic and now coming out of the pandemic, and I'd like to present some of those findings with you. Currently, 1 out of every 4 secondary students, that's grades 7 through 12, has been enrolled in a Muhlenberg School District for less than 29 months. At the elementary, at CE Cole, that's grades 4, 5, and 6, 1 out of every 3 students in that building has been enrolled there for less than 29 months. We're a fast-growing school district. Before the pandemic till now, we've increased our enrollment by 200 students. We're up to 4153. Our economically disadvantaged students have increased by over 350 students. 68% of our school district right now is economically disadvantaged. Our English language learner population has increased by over 100 students. That puts us at 8.4% of our population. And our special ed students population has increased by over 100 students and puts us around 19.4%. So just to give some perspective of the students moving into our district, we're taking a look at those things, and then a couple in standardized testing, all the students, that 89% of the students that moved into our district, research is showing have been below basic as they moved in. So couple that with the challenge of depression, anxiety, not knowing, your friends here, not knowing your neighbors or anything like that. So after hearing all that, we took a very proactive approach. What are we going to do? 2 things we're going to focus on: building relationships with our students and making connections with them. We developed the blueprint for success, the action plan, the post-pandemic plan of action, which we presented last April to everybody, kind of provided everybody with direction and focus. And we've made, thank you to the board for investing in our coaching, our technology, our literacy, our math, science programs, and our mental health programs as well. And those things are helping make a difference with our children. Mental health, the things we talked about, increasing staffing, adding a pupil services director is critical, will be critical, and thank you for that this past year. 2 social workers, they will be hit the ground running. One's already started, the other one will start at the end of this month. Expanding our services, our support net for our students with the Karen Foundation and PA Council and Connect, our professional development for our staff as well. And then a focus on our students is really trying to get those students involved in something, not to just come to school every day, but to come to school and be involved in a club, sport, activity, some type of extracurricular activity that they can become connected to the school and have a reason and a purpose to come to school. To get them to be part of a team has really been a big thing for us, exposing our kids to the activities, to the experiences we have, and then removing any obstacles or roadblocks that children typically would have had with participating in a club or a sport, whether it's, feeding them, providing transportation, reaching out to parents, partnering with outside agencies, are all things that we've done to get us to this point. We're certainly not where we want to be, but we're heading in a good direction. So I would like to share some results with you. The participation, you heard Dr. Macharola talk about the summer style. We had 2,000 students this summer participated in the summer style program for 9 weeks. That's 4 days a week in the summertime. They didn't have to be here, but they came. And really got a lot of enrichment activities, things they would not have normally gotten in the school day, and a lot of exposure to activities that, again, they wouldn't have normally gotten in the school day. So building off that success, we're looking at the spring style. That just kicked off last week. So we have 500 students involved in the spring style program. That's looking to run for 8 weeks. It's 2 days a week. That's a combination of enrichment and remediation. We are offering a credit recovery program at the high school. We have over 100 high school, about 140 high school students are part of this program. So that's kind of nice that they're coming to school and looking to, students that move in are a little credit deficient sometimes when they transfer in. So we're trying to get them back on track to help them graduate in 4 years. To get them moving in the right direction. So that's nice that they are part of that. Extracurricular, as I mentioned about getting kids involved in a club sport activity, we're about 3/4 of our kids right now are involved in some kind of club sport or activity. Our goal is 100%. It's continuous promotion to students, trying to hook them on the benefits of being part of something. So as I said, our goal is 100. So really anything less than that, we feel we're not good enough yet, and we really got to continue to hammer that home. But I can tell you our high school principal Mish, our athletic director, Dr. Moyer, junior high principal, Dr. Ebert, have had goals of getting the kids involved in the buildings. Dr. Chappelle has done a terrific job with putting together the summer style program and the spring style program, and all of her coaches that have helped her do that as well has really been impactful, and all building up to this summer. This summer, we plan on doing summer style once again. Our goal is to get more than 2,000 students involved in it. And we're looking at about 8 to 9 weeks to have that program as well, 4 days a week. So again, just really continuing the school year for our kids, letting them know that, hey, get involved, do something here, be part of a team. And that is our goal, is to get to that 100%. So we do have work to do, no doubt about it. We have a lot of needs to meet, like I said, with depression and anxiety and things like that. But, we have great people working. We have outstanding teachers. We have, tremendous administrators, and everybody working together is, hopefully will get us to get to that 100% target that we're aiming for. I have, Doctor.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. It was important for everybody to hear, that synopsis as we continue to emerge here, pandemic related, and we're not out of the woods. We're hoping we can continue to navigate here and give our kids opportunities. We can't say enough about the relationship portion of getting kids connected to the school. A lot of studies out there to support that, and we also know that's critical for our kids to achieve here, and to feel like they're part of something. I think one of the other things that Dr. Futrick had mentioned in our conversations here, and it has to be said, is that we have an incredible responsibility for the children that are moving into our school district. The kids that didn't have the benefit of a Muhlenberg Elementary Center or a Muhlenberg Intermediate School education, and to have them connect to what Muhlenberg is about, and to feel that sense of belonging. And it's not words. It's not just like something you just say. This is like really, really big stuff and things that we have to be concerned about. So we can make these kids feel that they're part of something special, and that belonging leads to academic achievement. But our work is cut out for us, not just us. We're worried about our backyard. It's cut out for all of the schools in the state and across the country. So I'm very grateful to our school board, and I'm excited about this board right here. I really am. I mean, you guys have supported us, and you supported our children, you supported our teachers. Millions into technology, we got to keep rolling there. Our pilots have paid off, and we know that. But man, we've got a whole different venue now that no one could have ever imagined. So we are 72% minority, and we're 68% economically disadvantaged. We're going to trend in that direction more, and we need people that care. And I want to thank this board for what they've done. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're shooting for 2030 to 2040, and that's to prepare kids for what's going to happen. And not to mention what I said earlier about what is happening, internationally. And I'm not going to digress into that, but I do have to say this because I had just a 30-second conversation, or sharing this with you. I'm talking to a couple of our kids at the high school today, and so the sense of citizenship, and it's so important that our kids love where they live in terms of our country. You don't have to agree with everything. But I was surprised that they really didn't understand or know the impact of 9/11. And we talk about now they're looking at what is happening in the Ukraine and what effect that's going to have on everybody internationally. We're certainly feeling it at the gas pump and a lot of other places. But our kids, in conversation with them, and they were children that moved into our district, really didn't understand the impact of 9/11. And I know all of you sitting there going, well, that's like yesterday to me. And I, for a couple of minutes, just stood there to explain to them about what the attack and what it did to our country. That there was no connection. And now here we are, now looking at something that's incredible in the Ukraine. How's that going to have an effect on us? I had to share that today because for those that sit there and think, well, this is fresh in everybody's minds, it really isn't. And what that means to all of us. So we've got a lot of work to cut out. And I certainly want our country to be in a good place. And I want our kids in Muhlenberg to have all the tools to be successful in a country that's here for them. So it's not just talk. It's like real serious thinking with me. And I know it is with our board. And I know it is when I talk to a lot of you personally.
Can I stop your future good question? So this percentage of kids that aren't involved in anything, I think we start to look at those kids and let them drive the activities that they want. Look at them, and I don't know if you survey them, but what do they want to see at school? What activities? And we do that, and I hate to keep saying where I'm coming from, but we go out to the kids that aren't involved and we say, hey, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do after school? What will pull you in after school? What kind of things do you want to see? And there are things that we wouldn't even think of because we don't really know what they're doing outside of school. So instead of maybe looking at the stuff we have, maybe we somehow let them drive what they want, or they come up with some ideas.
I think it's a great idea.
I mean, there are things the kids are interested in that are mine. They tell me the stuff they do, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But they would love to be doing it at school with an adult that they feel connected to. I mean, they're going to do the stuff anyway. So,
Talking future to Christina's sharing there, we were shocked in the summer about the baking.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Right?
that was our most requested class. I'm surprised. That and swimming. Another thing I was surprised so many kids like to do.
Well, the big one now, and some of the ladies might know, and I hate to be sexist, is crocheting now is a huge thing with young girls and some young boys that you wouldn't even think of, like, do you want a crocheting club after school? This is a huge thing with teens now. Like, would you even think about that? crocheting and knitting. I mean, if somebody didn't tell you that, you would think absolutely not. Yeah, that's what their thing is now. That's an interest they have.
I appreciate that. I really do. I want to thank Dr. Futry for the presentation, everybody out there. Again, thanks to our school board. I'm excited.
I got a question now. You ever figure out how many kids leave Muhlenberg and go back to their, like, the home country or somewhere else and that stuff?
I couldn't tell you how many go back to where they go. I can tell you how many leave.
Right,
That I could be able to tell you, the ins and outs. Like, we've become a transient district.
right, that's why,
So I can tell you next month the number of students that have left
right.
and then
Do
replaced.
they come back, some of them, like leave and go, oh yeah, they come back?
Yeah, I don't have the percentage, but I do know we have kids that leave, come back, some of 2 or 3 times.
You're right, that's.
We had a great deal of that in Reading, where students would go, especially back to the Caribbean, and then didn't come back to Reading. Alan, could I say just a few things here? I'll try to keep it short. I was a history major, and so when I get a chance, I put the History Channel on. And while I was grabbing a bowl of chili tonight, I saw Hitler's army invade France, Belgium, and Netherlands. And the pictures I saw looked like we have now. Buildings being bombed, refugees streaming out, tanks in the street. And for the life of me, I never thought in my lifetime I would see something in Europe that rivaled that. And another point, about 2 weeks ago, there was a column about fair funding, and they picked a school in Pennsylvania that they felt was very disadvantaged. That school had 65% poverty. We have more than that. And that's something as a school district, we have to recognize that there's a need here that maybe we didn't have in Muhlenberg in the past. And as a school district, we're going to have to try to fill that need. One of the problems we had in Reading were students were not in Reading long enough to make an impact, or they weren't in a school long enough. They would move from parts of the city to other parts of the city. And Reading eventually said every elementary school in every subject will be teaching on the same page every day. So when those kids moved from school A to school B, they were at the exact same place in their curriculum. We don't have that problem. We have a school. I'm done.
Thank you very much. Everybody else, I'm gonna thank everybody again. I really appreciate the time. It means a lot. Mr. Matthias, I know it's grapefruit season yet, but how about the 2022-2023 budget review? And I'm sure when you're done, you're gonna say, okay, we gotta start over again, but sir?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Metro. That's right. It is obviously still early and a lot of things are changing. So tonight, well, first let me say the updated budget report did come out last week with the full board packet, but there was one page, one addition that was sent out this week. So I just wanted to make sure everyone hopefully got that. It was marked as page 7. So hopefully you did get that. But right, so tonight I'm going to just be giving a high level update on some of the more significant updates we've made, and some of those things may change obviously next month, but I'm going to go over those. There are going to be some things, some pages I'm going to just skim over and really not talk about. So if there's something I do go over that that I don't go over, I should say, that you want to ask about, that's fine. I'll try to answer any questions you have. So starting out on page 1 with the projected revenues, there are no changes to the local revenues. Under the state revenues, the only really notable change was a decrease in the state subsidy for retirement. That decrease was about $223,000 from the last month's report, and that's related to a change in the retirement expense, which we'll talk about when we get to page 2. The only other notable change, was a significant one, is on the federal revenues, a decrease of about $587,000. But again, as Dr. Metro said, it's early. That is just us kind of working through. We just finished the ARP ESSER 3 budget, and we just need to kind of work some things out. So I'm sure that's going to change in the coming months. And the other thing I'll note is every change we make in that federal revenue section, there's a corresponding dollar for dollar change in the federal expenditure section. So that decrease of 587,000 revenue is a $587,000 decrease in the federal funded expenditures on page 2. So the overall decrease in revenues for this month from last month was about 811,000. The new projected revenue total is $66.6 million. Moving on to page 2, projected expenditures. As I already mentioned, the PESers. So what happened from last month to this month, the PESers came out and announced the official employer rate for next year, and that'll be 35.26%. The original projected rate they had given us was a bit higher than that. So that's what we were using last month. The decrease in the expenditure part of that is about $574,000 from last month. Right below the retirement expenses, the health insurance. As we continue to update our spreadsheet, we had a few currently vacant positions here in Muhlenberg that we did not have on that sheet that we added this month, excuse me. And that resulted, among other changes, in a net increase of about $230,000. The only other item I'll note under the state and locally funded expenditures, under the other department budgets, quite a few different budgets in there, but the one that we did update was the daily sub pay to Kelly Education Services. So I guess back in, I think it was December, the board voted to increase that daily sub rate to try to get more subs in. And that seems to be making a difference. Our sub numbers are going up every week. And so we took a look at that number and increased the budget by about $290,000 in that line item. And then, as I mentioned already, the federally funded expenditures were reduced about $587,000, similar to the federally funded or the federal revenues on page 1. So the net decrease in expenditures for this month from last month is about $164,000, resulting in a $69.8 million projected expenditure number. That leaves a projected deficit of $3.17 million without any new positions. Then when you factor in those proposed new positions on page 6, that deficit grows to $4.03 million. Moving on to page 3, and really, I believe if I look at, I think I sent you a 3A and a 3A, should be a 3A and a 3B. They are different. One is without new positions and the other is with new positions. And really, there aren't a lot of changes on these, but the impact of that change in the projected deficit without the positions is on 3A, and the second sheet would be that projected deficit with the new position. So again, not many changes otherwise. I'm not going to go over anything more there. And then same with 4A and 4A, which should be 4A and 4B. The only difference is that projected expenditure number in the middle of the page with and without positions, and that just is used to calculate the 8% unassigned fund balance that the district is allowed to maintain. Page 5 is the debt service. There are no updates, nothing changed from last month. Page 6, the proposed new positions. So you can see there, they're laid out, those currently identified positions, the estimated costs of those positions, the assumptions used to calculate those costs, as well as the justifications. And then you'll note on there on the paper notes that that change in that clerical position is food service fund related and would have no impact on the general fund. Page 7, I want to just get into this a little bit. It's kind of a confusing thing, and I apologize for sending it out late. It's kind of something that we did here just to kind of, I don't know how you want to describe it. I call it a reality check, a proof, but essentially, looking at 2021 as a business manager and from a budget perspective, things are just, as everybody knows, the pandemic has turned everything upside down. And things just are not normal, even in the financial world, and the way things are coming through and the expense we're seeing and the revenues we're seeing with all the federal money, of course. So what this sheet is kind of doing is looking before the pandemic, those 5-year span, and calculating out what our surplus was when we compare actual expenditures to actual revenues, and how that surplus has changed over those kind of normal, if you will, 5 years. I mean, there's always anomalies every year and things that kind of come up, but clearly the pandemic has changed a lot of things, or at least hopefully temporarily. But in the middle of the page, what I'm doing is just kind of looking at the increase of expenditures over the prior year, over that 4-year span, and then the increase in revenues and the increase in revenues without real estate tax increases. Because I should note that each of the 4 years we're looking at there, had a real estate tax increase. And then, of course, we're calculating the 4-year average increase on the right-hand side of the page in the middle there. And what we're doing here is we're taking the last, what I'm going to call a normal year, which is 1920. And I know the pandemic started at the tail end of 1920, but really from a financial standpoint, it was a pretty normal year. But we're taking that starting point of $0.7 million in actual expenditures and adding that 4-year average of 2.4 million down on the bottom, kind of in the middle there where we show the projected expenditures, and just adding it to that starting point to come up with a new figure for 2021, and then adding it again, the 2.4 million again to get a projected 21-22, and then a third time, of course, to get the projected 22-23. When you look at that projected $65.2 million for 2020-2021, and then you go to the top right corner where the actual expenditures were for 2021 of 62.5, obviously it's a big difference. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, just not a real clear and true picture of how things are trending or have been trending. So when you look below there and you see the transportation savings, the substitute teacher savings, the wage and benefit savings, and these are just the ones I've identified, and they're estimates, but I think they're fair estimates. And you add those savings into that 62.5, you're going to get a lot closer to that $65 million number that we're projecting on the bottom. And so one other thing I'll note on the projected expenditures, if you look at that 22-23, strictly based on that 4-year average, the starting point of 1920, projecting expenditures of $70.1 million is really kind of comparable to the other calculation, which is really the line item budget of 69.82 on page 2, without the positions. And then we're doing the same thing with the projected revenues, just taking that starting point of the last normal year, 1920 of 62.5, top right corner, and adding that 4-year average of 2.167 million in average increased revenues. And then we're just calculating the deficit each year based on those projected revenues and expenditures. And then the final note I'll point out is that that $1.147 million projected deficit doesn't really quite jive with what the projected deficit is on page 2. But remember that 4-year average increase of revenues includes a tax increase in each year. And of course, in light of the pandemic in 2021, the board elected not to raise taxes. And then the current 22-23 budget, beginning on page 1, also does not include a tax increase. And my calculations, each year, the tax increase over the 4 years averaged out to an increase of $952,000 in revenue. So when you back out those two projected increases for those 2 years, you come up with a projected deficit of 3.051 million, which is obviously comparable to the projected deficit without positions of 3.17. So again, I think 2021 was a strange year, and it's, so far 21-22 isn't looking a lot better. It looks great because we're going to have a surplus potentially, but it's just, I think, a little deceiving. And I just wanted to, I kind of did this for myself, but also for the board's benefit, to really kind of see that it's just kind of dealing with a different animal right now. And I think this is just helpful to kind of proof out how we got to where we're at with the current budget. So hopefully that made some sense, but any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mathias. And lastly, before I turn this over to Mr. Hyman, our ARP ESSER plan is on the site for public display. And with that, I'll hand it to you.
Okay, this is a time for hearing of visitors. Muhlenberg School District taxpayers and residents have an opportunity at this time to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before the Muhlenberg School Board. This period of time is for comments only. It is not a time to engage in a question and answer or debate with the board. Comments from the board are at the option of the board. The board retains the option to accept all public comment at this time. Presentations will be limited to 2 minutes per person. In the event that the board determines that there is not sufficient time for residents or taxpayers of the school district to comment, the board may defer the comment period to the next regular meeting. Do we have anyone?
Good evening, everyone. This is Christy Rothenberger. Hope everyone's doing well. I want to thank you for the update to our health and safety plan. I do question, however, the context as you have left it very vague with little to no details and not without famous loopholes throughout, so you can do whatever you believe is necessary at protecting our children at any given time. I do not think this is even close to being ready and needs to be publicly discussed amongst the board members in person. Which brings me to the Sunshine Act. Created in 1976, the Sunshine Act is a freedom act, which is enacted to create transparency. The Federalist number 49 states that the people are the only legitimate foundation of power, and it is from them that the constitutional charter is derived. From the USCCAN, government is and should be the servant of the people, and it should be held fully accountable to them for the actions which it supposedly takes on their behalf. So, legislative findings and declarations. The General Assembly finds that the right to the public to be present at all meetings of agencies and to witness the deliberation, policy formulation, and decision-making of agencies is vital to the enhancement and proper functioning of the democratic process, and that the secrecy in public affairs undermines the faith of the public in government and public effectiveness in fulfilling its role in democratic society. The General Assembly hereby declares it to be the public policy of the Commonwealth to ensure the right of its citizens to have notice of and the right to attend all meetings of agencies at which any agency business is discussed or acted upon as provided in this chapter. There is an amendment that was made. Official action and deliberation by a quorum of the members of any agency shall take place at a meeting open to the public unless closed under section 707, 708, and 712, which do not relate to the pandemic. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Back to Dr.
Thank you
Macherola.
very much, President Heineman. We're going to the Personnel Board's going to be asked to approve in section 5.01 resignations as stated. In section 5.02, the board is going to be asked to approve. It's Dr. Nicole Huntback, our supervisor of special education. Section 5.03, we have a cafeteria worker that has completed probation. In section 5.04, board is going to be asked to approve a request of leave of absence in FMLA as listed. 505, another leave of absence FMLA as listed. In section 5.06, we have mentor assignments that are listed in exhibit A3. In section 5.07, we have co-curricular appointments. We have a list of co-curricular appointments that are there for your review. And in section 5.08, we have a co-curricular salary adjustment. I'm going to stop right there. Any questions? Any comments? Any heartburn? Section 5.09, board is going to be asked to approve bus monitors as listed. Board is going to be asked to approve a professional employee contract for tenured teachers. We have 2 tenured teachers there that have awarded their tenure. Section 5.11, board is going to be asked to approve a professional appointment, a school nurse for our retiring school nurse here at the end of the year here. As soon as we can get her in, it'll be good for us. Board's going to be asked to approve in section 5.12, 2 classified appointments as listed. Any questions? Any comments? Any heartburn? Hearing no heartburn, or feeling no heartburn and hearing no questions. Number 6 under management, board is going to be asked to approve adoption of policies. The policy number 006 and policy number 903. Board is going to be asked to approve the summer work schedule of section 6.02. Board is going to be asked to approve the Act 80 days for the 21-22 school year in Exhibit B2. Any questions? Any comments? Any heartburn? Under physical plant and transportation, many of these items were already touched upon with Mr. Patterson, our Director of Physical Plant. We do have a Sunday facility use request in section 7.01. 7.02, approval of the Keystone Sports Construction Agreement. 7.03, approval of Township and Muhlenberg Agreement. Section 7.04, the demand response program. Again, all three of these have been shared with you and articulated from our director. And approval of our Forerunner Technologies Agreement in section 7.05. Any questions? Any comments? Any heartburn? Moving on to budget and finance, board is going to be asked to approve the general cafeteria capital reserve capital projects fund and activities fund, treasury report, financial report for January, February. Bills will be paid in February, investments in January, and budget transfers in January. Section 8.02, we have surplus property to be disposed of. They are listed there for you. They're broken or of no value to the district, usable parts removed. Section 9, board is going to be asked to approve the certificate of support students, exhibit E1. Board is going to be asked to approve the acceptance of gifts, grants, and donations. I'm always grateful for donations under policy 702. Under section 9.03, we have admission of fact, waiver of hearing, acknowledgement of compliance, repeat procedural safeguards, and consent to expulsion. Any questions, any comments, any heartburn? Section 9.04, boards will be asked to approve a conference request for the superintendent as listed, exhibit E4. Section 9.05, board is going to be asked to approve the revised Muhlenberg School District Health and Safety Plan. Board is going to be asked to approve in section 9.06, according to our policy, a student to complete his year, senior year as a non-resident student. Section 9.07, board is going to be asked to approve an extended school year student tuition agreement. Section 9.08, board is going to be asked to approve a settlement agreement and release that was discussed previously. Board is going to be asked to approve section 9.09, a student tuition agreement for the 21-22 school year. Any questions? Any comments? Any heartburn? We don't have any student activities at this time. The board is going to be asked to approve minutes from the February 9th and committee of the whole February 9th regular board meeting. And the board is going to, or Mr. President Heineman will read a memoriam for Robert W. Smith. And at this time, I'm going to pass the meeting back over to President Heineman.
Okay, I think we're going to be reading that at our regular board meeting. Is that correct, Dr. Macherola?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
The
okay,
memoriam?
yes,
Yes, sir.
okay. We have another chance at this time for hearing of visitors. Do we have anyone there? Okay. Okay, then we should look at the board visitor of the month. I'll be darned, it's me. Actually, I visited the school already. I've done this every time I've been on the board, and I don't take very much time, but I try to talk to one of the administrators and try to see if there's anything they need that we haven't been supplying or any help we can have. And I really do think it's good for all of the board members to try. I know if you look, it's very difficult to try to get in and talk to someone in the school, possibly even take a walk through the school. It's a little more difficult now with the COVID restrictions we have. April will be Mrs. Mangle and May will be Mr. Hoffmaster. Any questions on that? Review of board meetings and calendar events. They are all listed there for you. And I think it's time for us to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a motion to do that?
Make a motion.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
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 There you go. Okay. Should we have a little pause here? Okay. All right, we will be transitioning right into the regular board meeting. Is there anyone who would want to take a few seconds pause here? Okay. All right, let's start again with our roll call.
Eagle, here.
Hoffmaster,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Ah, good.
Heineman,
Here.
Lapia,
Here.
Mangle, here. Nelson,
Here.
Vasquez.
Here.
Boyd,
Here.
We already did the pledge.
Okay. All right, we've already done the pledge tonight. We will go to education presentations. This is Dr. Macharola.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyman. We have the second reading of policies for the board to approve as shared earlier, and that's my my presentation for that particular item.
Okay. And we will go to committee reports. Berks County Intermediate Unit, Mr. Lapia. Well,
Oh, here-
hearing of visitors, sorry. Do we have anyone?
There's one.
Okay.
Hi, well, I had a question. If that's not appropriate, then I'll just mute and wait until the end.
No, let's hear.
Well, I'm reporting on tonight's meeting for the Reading Eagle,
Oh, good.
and I was just wondering if you could restate those statistics that you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about mental health. Were those referring to just Muhlenberg students or students across the country?
No, sir, those are specific to the Muhlenberg School District.
Okay, could you please repeat those numbers?
I would do that for you, okay?
You want to scan them and send them?
We could scan them and send them to you. Would that be good?
Yes.
Okay, would you be so kind as to leave us with your contact information? We have our director of technology here.
How will I send it to you, though?
Dan?
Like how would I send my email address? Who would I send it to?
Comment.
That's book. Okay, I'll tell you what. Sir, call my office in the morning.
Are you planning on publishing this tonight for the morning paper?
That would be nice, yes.
Let me do it. Is that all right?
Yeah, just take time to do it.
All right, so the impact of the pandemic on our students is clearly reflected in PACE survey results. Depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies are fast-growing concerns.
And when was this survey conducted?
December 2021.
Okay.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, 50% of our students experience depression for 2 or more consecutive weeks. 25% of students worried where their next meal was coming from. 20% of students experienced a death in the family during the pandemic. 20% of our students experienced a family member losing their job. 15% of our students attempted suicide. Did you have those numbers, sir?
Yes, thank you very much. I hope I didn't interrupt the meeting.
No, I'm glad you did, and I would much rather you have facts than something not be true. And if you need to follow up with me, you can call my confidential secretary in the morning, and I'll be happy to help you there too as well.
All right, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Do we have anyone else? Okay, then we'll go to Mr. Lapia.
Okay, other than the regular BCIU things that are happening there, we did discuss the governor's proposed budget, 43.7 billion, and increased funding all the way around. Increased funding for basic education, for special education, for school employees, retirement, pre-K counts, pupil transportation, Head Start supplementals, career and technical education, private schools for deaf and blind. All the increase, what Muhlenberg will get, we'll find out. That's it.
Okay. Reading Muhlenberg CTC, Mrs. Mengel.
Our meeting is on Monday night.
Okay, we will look forward to hearing from you next time. Berks County Tax Collection Committee, either Mr. Boyd or Mr. Matthias.
Mr. Voigt, do you want to take the easy one or do you want me to take it?
Okay, there wasn't a meeting. How's that?
Well done.
Ah, okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm glad to report. Thank you.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Oh, you get another shot, Mr. Voigt, PSBA.
Same answer.
Okay, rolling right along. Muhlenberg Community Library, Mr. Heckman. Nothing there. Educational programs, Dr. Futrick.
I have no report this evening.
Solicitors' comments, channeling Mr. Voigt, I have no report. Wow. Superintendent's comments.
Just to follow up from last month, very briefly, if the district could use a volunteer or volunteers, and you wish to volunteer, each building has a packet for you to fill out. So we will be more than happy to review your packet of information. And in need of a volunteer, we will certainly, call you in if we can use you. But there is a packet. I want to make it very clear: a packet of information that you must fill out for us. And that is all I have to say tonight.
Okay, then we're looking at resolution number 145A through resolution 145L. Excuse me? Question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we need to pull out 145F.
Enter assignments.
Yeah, it is us.
Yeah.
Okay, pardon me? All right, let's do that one first.
Okay.
Resolution number 145F, mentor assignments. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call?
Eagle? Yes.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Heineman?
Yes.
Lupia?
Yes.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Abstain.
Vasquez?
Yes.
And Voight.
Yes.
Okay, we will now look at resolutions 145A through 145L with 145F taken out of that pack. Is there a motion?
Motion.
A second? Second, okay. Roll call.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Heineman?
Yes.
Lupia?
Yes.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Eagle.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 146 through resolution number 148. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Howard?
Yes.
Heineman?
Yes.
Lupia?
Yes.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Eagle.
Yes.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Resolution number 149 through number 153. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, make motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Heineman?
Yes.
Lupia?
Yes.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Eagle.
Yes.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Resolution number 154 and resolution number 155. Do we have a motion?
A motion.
A second?
Second.
Roll call.
Lupia?
Yes.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Eagle.
Yes.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Heineman.
Yes. Resolution number 156 through resolution number 164. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mengel? Yes. Nelson?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Eagle.
Yes.
Hoffmeister?
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Heineman,
Yes,
Lapia.
Yes.
I believe we have no items under student activities. Am I correct? Is there anything there? Okay. Approval of minutes. Is there a motion for resolution number 165?
Moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any old business? Do we have new business? We have the memoriam for Mr. Robert W. Smith. Resolved that we remember the passing of Mr. Robert Smith, who served in the Muhlenberg School District as a substitute teacher. We honor his memory for his dedicated service to the school district and community. Be it further resolved that we convey through this resolution our deepest sympathy to his family, and that this resolution be part of the permanent record in the minutes of the Muhlenberg School District. Is there a motion for this resolution?
Moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Hearing of visitors. I read this a few minutes ago. I don't think we have to read it again. Nobody there. Okay. Board visitor of the month. We went over that before. Review of board meetings and calendar events. You have all of those things in your packet. Do I have a motion to adjourn resolution 166?
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye.